Have you ever come across something like this before? It is unlikely. It seems like something out of an adventure movie, but it's real. The Ethiopian Bible is one of the most enigmatic and debated books that exist. Even the country itself is shrouded in inexplicable mysteries. But that's a story for another time. Ethiopia is the cradle of one of the world's oldest civilizations, and is the only African country that escaped colonization. This allows them to trace their lineage back to ancient times, even being associated with the descendants of one of Noah's sons. Although there are controversies, historical records strongly suggest this connection. However, the focus is not just the country itself but the treasure it holds. The ancient scrolls of the Bible found in Ethiopia are older than the more well-known versions, such as the King James Bible. With its 88 books, the Ethiopian Bible includes works that other Christian traditions do not recognize. They contain both Old Testament and New Testament texts, as well as unpublished scrolls. What makes this even more fascinating is that these scrolls existed long before Christianity was officially established in the region. While Christianity was spreading throughout the world, it was already rooted in Ethiopia since the 4th century. Ancient travelers and historians witnessed the Christian presence in Ethiopia since remote times. Evidence suggests that for more than 3,500 years, certain Ethiopian tribes worshipped the Christian God. For centuries, Ethiopia has welcomed Christian refugees, offering them a safe haven in times of religious persecution in other parts of the world. This is just a glimpse of the rich and complex religious history of this unique country. The oldest organized Christian body in the world is not the Catholic ministry, as many might think, but the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, known locally as Tahara in Ethiopia. This country also hosts. Without the digital verification resources we have today, false news spread rapidly, resulting in a multitude of fake books and confusion among people. The damage caused by this dissemination of inaccurate information was significant. This concern became central to the leaders of the early Christian Church, who gathered at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD and the First Council of Constantinople in 381 AD to determine which books would be included in the New Testament. They established strict criteria. A book would be considered sacred if it was written by one of Jesus' followers or by someone who witnessed his teachings. Additionally, the text had to be written in the 1st century and be in harmony with the rest of the Bible. Over the centuries, the Holy Bible underwent various changes, but one of the most significant occurred during the reign of King James I. After 500 years of the Vulgate, there were still multiple conflicting versions and interpretations of the Bible. This concerned the monarch, who desired a unified version of the Bible to resolve religious divergences and consolidate his power. Addressing these concerns, King James I hired 47 experts to review all the different translations of the existing Bible. Divided into 6 groups, these experts worked independently for 7 years, following strict rules to avoid any bias. They used various tools to produce a translation faithful to the original languages. The result was a scholarly Bible that reflected the consensus of the experts and adhered to the established criteria. Despite being geographically apart, they celebrated the approval, attributing glory to God for guiding them to the same conclusion. In 1611, the King James Bible was published, and thanks to advancements in printing, it became one of the most accessible versions until then. However, the additions made to the King James Bible and the original Vulgate translation, by St. Jerome, resulted in the exclusion of some books that most Christians have today. The Ethiopian Bible maintains all the scriptures. Now that we have briefly explored the history of the Bible, it is time to address why the Ethiopian Bible was rejected. There are several reasons for this, but the main one is the inclusion of additional books known as pseudepigrapha. These are texts falsely attributed to authors who are not their true writers or whose authors were identified as figures from the past, like works of fan fiction. Such texts are considered non-canonical by most Christian traditions. The books that were removed or rejected were known by the scribes and theologians of the time as not being divinely inspired. Many of these works were written with bad intentions before and after Jesus to prevent the dissemination of falsehoods in the future. These books were excluded from the canon. For example, if someone today wrote a book denying Pele's achievements as an athlete, it would be rejected due to its falsehood. However, over time, these stories can become part of popular belief, hence the importance of eradicating them now. The Ethiopian Bible has two canons, the broader and the narrower. Before exploring this, it is important to define what a canon is. A canon is a generally accepted principle or criterion by which something is judged. For example, a country has a president, and a channel has more subscribers. In the religious context, a canon refers to the collection of texts considered authoritative or sacred by a religious community. The Ethiopian Bible has two distinct canons, the broader and the narrower. The broader canon, widely recognized, consists of 81 books, including works such as Enoch and Jubilees. The 3 books of Mabes, the Epistle to Clement, the 4 books of Codes, among others, are the main focus of this video, as they constitute the most well-known canon. On the other hand, the narrower canon was established by Emperor Haile Selassie, who proclaimed this version as the official and complete Ethiopian Bible. Although I cannot provide details on the reason behind this decision, I suggest you research it yourself to better understand this restricted version. The narrower canon contains only 72 books, excluding some scriptures found in the broader version. It is important to note that the broader canon has not been reprinted since the early 20th century. The existence of 2 different versions of the canon contributes to the controversy and may have been a factor in the widespread non-acceptance of the Ethiopian Bible. Contrary to popular belief, the Bible is not just one book, but rather a collection of texts and experiences written over many years. This diversity is where challenges and questions arise regarding its interpretation and acceptance. Different religious groups, including those recognized and accepted, have a long history of including or excluding various texts or copies based on personal theological foundations. For example, the Bible we know today was mainly compiled in the 4th and 5th centuries, during which time Christianity in Ethiopia was already beginning to diverge from Christianity in Europe and the Mediterranean, a difference that persists to this day. The Ethiopian Bible has many similarities with the Catholic and Orthodox versions, although it includes some extra books from the Old Testament. These additional books were probably written in the last centuries BCE, towards the end of the Old Testament era, but before the beginning of the New Testament. Additionally, additional books were added at the end of the New Testament, especially related to the history and structure of the Ethiopian Church. Another reason for the rejection of the Ethiopian Bible may be the language in which it is written, Guizi, making it difficult for non-speakers to access. Furthermore, the lack of translations and the unique practices of the Ethiopian Bible contributed to its relative obscurity outside of Ethiopia. A more controversial reason is political. In the early days of Christianity, political power was a central concern for the Roman Empire. There was little spiritual growth, and any scrolls that did not align with the preferred history were left out. In fact, the Bishop of Rome instructed priests to destroy scrolls that were not in the Bible. However, many priests hid them in caves near the Dead Sea in the 1940s, explaining the differences between the 2 Bibles. There has been an increased interest in the Ethiopian Bible in recent years, with people seeking to discover what makes it special and the truth it contains. Churches have also worked to make it more accessible, by translating it into more languages and conducting academic studies on it. It's remarkable that this Bible has survived for so long, especially after attacks and fires, further increasing the mystery surrounding it. For those interested in curiosities and biblical wisdom, we leave here one of our most impactful videos, 10 Shocking Secrets from the Banned Book of Enoch. Click and follow along. Thank you for your attention, and may you remain under God's grace until next time.